Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Let me know if I'm blowing your ears out or whatnot. And let me know what you thought of this race. The 2025, yes, it's 2025, Advent Health 400 at Kansas. I don't know why I'm getting all over the place. Seeing a lot of back and forth, and I will read those super chats, I promise, as we finish up talking about the race itself. But I'm seeing 4, 0, 2, 7, 6, 6, 7.5, 2, 6, 7, 7, mid. We don't have a number, but mid. And in all honesty, like I have a feeling a lot of people were upset because, which by the way, yes, like Michael Roots, I now have Chicagoland gas can water. I've had it for a while. But I think this might be the way a lot of people are looking at it. Disappointing out of 10. I think a lot of us were looking at this race as this was going to be amazing. And personally, I think it was better than Texas, and I thought it was better than the short tracks and Darlington and all of that. But, at the same time, like it was all right. It was a NASCAR race. It was dominated. And I don't want the narrative to be if people don't like it, well, you didn't like it because it was dominated. No, that's not it at all. There was better amounts of passing, I think, in this race than previous ones, but it was still getting more difficult. But there were plenty of people that were able to charge their way up towards the front, especially as runs went on. We heard the news this past week, that maybe we can get 750. Maybe that could help out a little bit. Maybe. I know Jeffrey King in the chat here. I know you're a Chase Elliott fan, and he had speed. We'll talk about Chase Elliott as well. We'll talk about Kyle Larson. And if you're sick of Kyle Larson now, with him doing the double, starting it off like this, being pretty good at Wilkesboro, obviously great at Charlotte, and running top 10 most of the day at Indy last year, like you're going to get really sick of Kyle Larson, I think, coming up for sure. Letting you know now, I want to make sure that it is, yes, the poll is up on the community tab. So let me know what you think there. Already 103 comments. A lot of people have a lot of comments about this race. Let's talk about this race. Of course, the 2025 Advent Health 400. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Kyle Larson pulled off just max points in every way. He had the fastest lap. He led 221 of those 267 laps today. He won the races, won the stages, 61 points for Kyle Larson today, the most you can get in any race that's not the Daytona 500 when you include the duels, and also the most points you can get outside of the Coke 600 when there's another stage added on. So a lot of points, a lot of domination today. I know they made a big deal about him giving up his lead towards the end and slow. And then, listen, I have him muted, so I might not hear what he says. You can let me know. But a lot of people, including those in the booth, thinking he was having a flat or whatnot. Either way, the 0.7 of a second win, that is not indicative of just how good he was today. Not at all. But he wins over Christopher Bell. Bell with the second place finish, just over Ryan Blaney, who gets a third place run. Chase Briscoe fourth. Alex Bowman in the fifth spot. After that, you have Josh Berry, another solid run at the 1.5 miles for Berry, sixth today. Seventh for Priest, eighth for Busher, then ninth for Joey Logano. John Hunter Nemechek had a bit fresher tires, newer tires at the end of the race. Ran really fast towards the end, charged his way up to a 10th place finish. 11th is Cindric. Gilliland comes home 12th. And how about Corey Heim? Got to get the full race in, finished it, no problems. There, he comes home 13th today over Noah Gragson in 14th, 15th place for Chase Elliott. Not indicative of any way of how much speed he had during this race and where he ran for the vast majority until the very end. But keeps the top 20 streak alive, I guess, again. Zane Smith with the 16th place run. Then Tyler Reddick, 17th, MIA all day. I mean, the best that car was a 10th place car. Ross Chastain, again, 18th, the most recent winner here. Not a good run. Ricky Stenhouse, 19th, closes out the top half of the field. And a top 20 run for Shane Van Gisbergen. Hang the banner, all of that. But you know what? That is, I think, actually some pretty good, that's actually some pretty good progression. A lot of it is also at the same time attrition, but is where it is. Kyle Busch, the first one a lap down in 21st. Austin Dillon, 22nd, one lap down, as is McDowell and Byron. Just a nightmare day for Byron after having some pretty good early speed in this thing. 2 laps down for Cole Custer and Carson Hocevar in 26th, who probably should have had a top 10 run today. Then Riley Herbst, 2 laps down as well in 27th. Ty Gibbs, 3 down in 28th. Jesse Love, 29th, 3 off the pace as well. 6 laps down for Cody Ware in 30th. Got caught up in an accident too, but he wasn't really good to begin with. And last one on track was Justin Haley, 12 laps down after some damage. After that, everybody else is out of the race. 32nd, Eric Jones. Bubba Wallace, 33rd. Daniel Suarez, 34th. Ty Dillon, 35th. 36th for Denny Hamlin. Brad Keselowski, 37th. And last, getting only 6 laps today, AJ Allmendinger in 38th. Again, I probably spelled somebody's name wrong. You let me know. I'm going to have the results down here at the bottom of the screen. God, I'm sick. I'm not sick. I just got something like frog in my throat or something. We can briefly talk about Larson, but no offense, Larson fans, but the entire broadcast talks about him. The entire month of May, we're going to hear all about him on Fox and on Prime, on IndyCar, on NASCAR, on all of it. I think people can probably do with not doing the full Larson Glaze Fest. It was a crazy performance. It was an amazing performance. It was a Kyle Larson performance, if there ever was one. Another dominant win, just kind of like Bristol, among others. And I think that's why so many people are let down by this race, as we thought this was going to be a very racy race. We thought this was going to be kind of, the sun on the horizon, and we're already to bowling on the TV. I think a lot of people thought that we were kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here. And Larson basically said, nope, I'm the light at the end of the tunnel. Shot the field out. There's not much more you can say other than what we always say of Kyle Larson. He's really damn good. That team is really good. They're the ones to beat. This is a great track for him on top of that. There's not much more with that. Now, what I want to talk about, and really quick, I'm just going to, there. For those who want any more about Kyle Larson, there you go. Change it up in the title. Or wait, no, it won't. It won't let me change it in the title. How about that? There you go. You didn't get that. I was just going to put domination in all caps because it was pure domination. Not to say that there weren't people that challenged the 5 today. We talked about him a bit ago. Let's talk about him now. Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott, I think, had real glimpses of life today. This is the Chase Elliott for about the first 2/3 of this race that we're used to seeing. That is, competing up front, going to try and lead laps. I mean, looking through the field, right? Larson led 221, Hocevar 4, Busch 1, Logano 1, 3 for Bell, 2 for Bowman, 29 laps led for Chase Elliott today. I think Chase Elliott, at least for the first 2/3 of this race, had a better car than the 5. He just got caught up in traffic, and this car is so sensitive to aero and so sensitive to being stuck in traffic and stuff like that. And once he got out front, I mean, you were thinking, man, like if they don't screw this up, this could be the day. Like Chase Elliott could really get this win. Of course, you have problems in the pits. It just absolutely abhorrently bad stop, especially in that situation. The 9 had control of the race, and they lost it in the pits. And then you add that with 2 really terrible restarts, whether it was on the driver. Again, we had our buddy Auto Racing Analytics, Grant from Auto Racing Analytics on, and he brought up Chase Elliott has not been the greatest on restarts this year. And it proved to be true again today. We saw it on the restarts towards the middle, sort of that rash of cautions. And at one point, I think Elliott was like all the way back in the back half of the top 20, charged his way back up, and I think the car went away or something, and he was never able to recover. I think the best he got the rest of the day was like 12th, and he ends up losing spots to Heim, Gregson, Gilliland. Just this kind of day is a what if, even when you even look at the finish in general. Because I think that towards the end of the day, if he had stayed up front, he probably at minimum probably gets a top 2 finish. And then at that point, it helps with the points, helps with the playoff stuff, helps with all of that. I will say, though, if you can take anything from what the 9 did today, it is very much that there is still life in that team. This is a pretty good track historically for Chase Elliott if you look at the statistics. And going to the Coke 600, there should be some real hope when it comes to fans of the 9. That's not the only guy, though, that had a finish that's not indicative of running up front and challenging Kyle Larson throughout this day. When you look back in the pack, there were 2 guys in the low end of the 30s that, in my opinion, if they had not had problems during this race, would have probably competed for a win and been up front. And they were up front before their problems. The first of these, 37th place finishing Brad Keselowski. We've been talking, and the narrative has been this all year for rightful reason for how bad he has been. Brad Keselowski, like, is he cooked? And I still might make a video, like, is Brad cooked overall? But today, that was a huge pushback on the narrative. That 6 car was fast. And it wasn't just that he was fast in the short run and then fell off. Like, he was fast today. Unfortunately, and granted, it took 7 business days for the booth to react. He had a flat tire and ended up basically wrecking out of this thing. At this point now, he has to be well over 100 points. I mean, he came into this race 98 points out of the cut line, 1 ahead of Riley Herbst. That I don't think will be the case now, depending on where Herbst finished and the stage points and all of that. It is must-win scenario in every way right now for Brad Keselowski. But he, again, another one, just like Elliott, showed real signs of life in this race. That is the Brad Keselowski that we saw last year, that we saw pre-RFK. I don't know, again, if it was maybe an aggressive setup or something like that. I don't know if it was the driver being too aggressive with it. He was right before that racing really hard. And to the brief credit of the car, I'm not going to say that the car was great. I'm not even going to say this race was great. I'd probably give it like at 6 range. Because I think there were I won't say a lot more, but there were some more positives, I think, than negatives. I think a lot of people will just be really upset with everything combined and how good we thought this race would be. But you did have to take care of your stuff today. We saw at the end of long runs, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, those guys that are aggressive and destroy the hell out of their right rears, start falling back at the end of runs. And right before he blew that tire, Brad Keselowski was really racing hard up towards the front there. And unfortunately, maybe that's what bit him. But again, there's something that's actually a real sign of life from that 6 team, from the RFK team overall. And that's something I don't think we've seen out of them at all this year. And if you look at the end of last year, Brad Keselowski really wasn't all that good. So this was the fastest 6 car I think we've seen out there in a good long while this year. Would he have beat Kyle Larson? Maybe. I mean, I'll leave the poll up for you. I'll leave a poll up for you guys. How about that? Because he was running him down. Would, yes or no? It's simple yes or no. Would Brad have beat Larson? I think it still would have been tough because it was definitely tough to pass. But at the same time, like, he looked to be one of the only ones out there that could keep up with that 5 car. And I know it's kind of like, yeah, you might not have. And we're seeing a lot. There's no here. Yes, no, nah, hell yeah. This one's the true one, though. Clean air is mega king. It's true. I mean, the clean air factor this race and of the next gen car in general is just so OP. Maybe the 750 like that. I'm hoping, knock on wood, it makes some difference. At least maybe at the short tracks. We're in a rough spot as NASCAR fans. We very much are. But I'll say this about Brad Keselowski. Last kind of point I'll put on him before I talk about some of the other guys that I think could have been better today. Brad Keselowski historically has been pretty damn good at Charlotte. At least he has really good runs there. If there's anywhere for him to pop up that's not a super speedway and get a win, it is the Coke 600. It is, this car, you do have to take care of your stuff a little bit, even with the dirty and clean air factor and all of that. But at the same time, that race is a veteran's race. That is a driver's race. And I think that's one that could actually, as long as it doesn't get rained out again, knock on wood, I think that's a race that could actually fit well into Brad Keselowski's hands, lap, you name it. That could be another point. So somebody else I want to talk about had transmission problems all day, clutch issues, all of that. At least from what I was been able to tell on the radio, Denny Hamlin, that Progressive car, that was another car that could make passes and was really fast, but had to make passes. Why? Because the clutch was out. They weren't able to get it out. He basically had to over rev the engine over and over again out of the pits. And finally it just, friggin' broke. While the 2311 cars were kind of MIA from competitiveness today, Denny Hamlin was up there in the top 5 and top 3 and was putting up some pretty darn good lap times. Could he have competed with Larson? I don't know. I didn't see enough of him being close enough to the front to be able to. I like that one. Rev up those fryers, rev up those engines, because there goes Denny right to the garage. But another one that Denny Hamlin should have had a top 10 today. He should have had a top 10 today. Looking at, some of the other issues today that we saw. I'm looking through the pack. Carson Hocevar at the end of that race should have been probably a top 10. Should have been 9th or 10th today, probably. But because of issues getting into the wall, flat tire, all that, finishes 26th. Not indicative, again, of where he ran. Hocevar, if you probably put like the average before any of his problems, if you just put the average of where his running position was, probably would be a top 15 to top 12 guy on the year. Yeah, Squidward. I like that. But again, not getting that finish he deserves. You look more through the pack. Some of the others, William Byron, early issues, goes 2 laps down early, never is able to recover after the flat tire, after different issues and being completely off of everything sequence-wise, competitively, all of that. 24th place run. But then you also have some guys up there. I'm looking through the results here that were really good today. Really good today. You had, for instance, up towards the front, you had Josh Berry. Like I said earlier, another great 1.5 mile run for him. Ryan Preece, which I know I put it in the chat, but I don't know if they mentioned it again, because a lot of times I'll listen to parts of the race on the radio. But Preece was dealing with power steering issues today, all day long. And that car was a demon to drive, it sounded like, because of it. It was just so difficult. A solid 7th place run where he probably should be, where he's been running for most of the year. Great run, for him in just about every way. Buescher right up there with him. RFK today, all 3 cars came locked and loaded, ready to go. I appreciate that super chat. I will read it during the super chat stage break, but I will agree. And I realized I forgot to say it too. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Happy Mother's Day to my mom, my grandma, and Riss, who's out there. I don't know if she's listening or not, but happy Mother's Day. I should probably be sure to say that. I probably should have said that at the start, so shame on me. But yeah, I mean, RFK Racing today came prepared. Ford, in a lot of ways, came prepared today. Logano was up front, Cindric top 10-ish at different points today, Blaney up front. Looking at some of the others, Barry, Preece, Buescher, Gilliland. So Ford today was pretty good. Plus, he had Brad Keselowski, like I talked about earlier. Really good speed out of a lot of those Fords today. Briscoe, top 5 finish fourth place run right over Alex Bowman. It was actually funny, we were talking about the B's earlier this year. Bell, Blaney, Briscoe, Bowman, Barry, 2nd through 6th. You go from Priest then to Busher. So a lot of B's behind him. But Briscoe today, this is where this team should be running. This is a JGR team. This is a team that I see my mic fell off. This is a JGR team. This is a team that should be running top 10, top 5 more often. This 19 team has kind of been right on that cut line for the most part of the season, even before they got the points back. Came in here 15th on the grid plus 17. That is likely to change after the problems that Busch and Hocevar had. These are the runs that I expect out of him. When you go to somewhere like Joe Gibbs Racing, when you go to somewhere like Hendrick Motorsports, to me, you're at that point, it's put up or shut up. There's no excuses at that point. Now, you can get low and get bad like Ty Gibbs and then try and build yourself up as the year goes and get better and better. Sure, you get that improvement, but at the end of the day, when Chase Briscoe signed with Joe Gibbs Racing, I remember on NWP, I remember in videos, I remember on these streams talking about it, you were expected to run up front, run for wins, be easily a playoff guy. And these are the runs that I expect out of that 19 team. They got better as the day went on. And I'm excited to see where they can build off of this. We got the All-Star race, the All-Star little kind of points racing break this coming week. And then it's back to the grindstone for the last 14 races of the regular season heading into the Coke 600. We are a third of the way through the points paying season, by the way. This is the 12th race of 36 races. We are well into the middle of the season. We're entering the dog days of summer that are coming up. All of that. These are runs that have to be made. Speaking of the 12th race of the season, that means as well, we are at the end of Fox for the points paying season. By the time the checkered flag falls a little over like 7 days, like probably 7 days and 3 hours from now, as long as there's no rain, which could be a possibility, we are done with Fox for the year for the Cup Series. I'll say today, there were some gaffes. There were some moments where you're kind of like, guys, what are we doing? The Brad Keselowski one, immediately I was thinking, like, why did it take so long for a reaction to that? They can't use the excuse it wasn't on the screen for them to see. I know a lot of the announcers have to look at the screens to announce it. It was there. I don't know what was going on today, but I am so glad that we're getting off of them as of after next week, that we're going to be heading into the series of the year with Prime and TNT and get to see what new broadcasters can do, because it is so stale. But I'll say this, at least with 4 extra weeks taken off the Fox portion of the year, it hadn't got to the point where it was just so unbearable. And you thought, oh my God, how are we going to keep doing this? Because at least when we got to like the 8th race of the season and people were like, oh my God, this is terrible. Instead of only being halfway done, we're like, hey, like we're a month away and then we're good to go. That there's just, it's just rough, man. It's just so rough. And I hope, I don't want to judge the last 3 races after Arnie Kempner, last week, this week, and next week, just because most of the stuff is going to be kept the same. I have to admit, Fox gives me a little intrigue. What changes next year? What changes with the Clash, the Daytona 500, and the 2026 season? Once you have new people in that might be able to bring some new ideas, at least, I'll take that, man. I'll take at least something. By the way, I would at least want to know, I know some of you kept track, how many commercial breaks did we have this week? Because we had 17 at Texas, if I'm not mistaken. How many do we have this week? New cartoons for everyone. Woohoo! I wonder, do you think they can make an app that they can cartoonify you, or like comic book you or whatever? The way that, like back in the day, The Walking Dead, they had like a Dead Yourself app where you could make yourself into a zombie. Do you think that Fox could put out an app that's like comic book yourself? Um, I wonder. But yeah, the commercials early in the race, I at least give them this. The last 2 weeks, they have been a lot early in the race, but towards the end, it's gotten better. Um, I think Talladega was unacceptable in so many ways. It's called AI. Okay, but I know, but I'm just like, I don't want to use just random AI. Um, Looking through the field a little bit here, looking through the day itself. AJ Allmendinger blows an engine right early at the start and then blows up an ECR. I don't know if I had the exact quotes on me, but I know at one point he basically said something to the degree of ECR, like you effing suck. And AJ, from what I heard, had a full blown meltdown over the radio, was like screaming F bombs left and right, was just absolutely insanely pissed. And you have to wonder, there's got to be more than just a driver having tension. He's had problems with the engines and all of that. Yes, AJ Allmendinger, radio sweetheart. I mean, it was 2012 Kurt-esque. I heard some of it on the old X machine. It was a pretty rough listen when you kind of add in how early in the day it was and all of that. But you have to think it's probably not just the driver who's upset with it. And, there's been the rumors about Dodge and other, a fourth or fifth or whatever OEM colleague would be a great, great candidate to jump over and try and vault themselves up the ladder for a manufacturer. If Dodge were to come in, there's been the rumors of them coming in with the Ram brand and trucks next year and then Dodge in 27. Again, no confirmation, but it's like kind of a wink, 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 wink. We kind of know. Them and Trackhouse and Legacy too, to a degree, I think, would be great candidates for that. The problem is that when you have somebody like that, the top 2 slots are really the only ones that get that competitive boost. And then if you're like 3rd or 4th on the pecking order, you're just sort of right back where you were before, but with a less competitive OEM. I'm just saying that's something that we, should probably keep an eye on, in the near future with a lot of that. Looking through a lot of the day too, there were a lot of driver and pit errors. Bubba Wallace had one early on. Jesse Love had one. Stenhouse had one. Cindric, Hamlin had a bad stop on top of the clutch issues during these. Ty Gibbs too. I mean, it wasn't like Ty Gibbs was doing very good today, but he was downright atrocious in the finishing order thanks to a lot of the mistakes, finishing 28th today. So anyone that was like, he started his season around, no, he just had like a brief break. And then now it's right back to hell. Looking at a lot of that, the stage point wise, the top 2, I think. Yeah, the top 2 positions were the same in both. So Larson and Elliott were the top 2 in both. In the first stage, 3rd was Bell, then Blaney, Cindric, Bowman, Hamlin, Priest, Logano, and Zane Smith. Zane Smith, I thought, had pretty good speed today. Even if he finished 16th, he was running really between 10th and 16th all day long. A solid run, especially when you have Gilliland in 12th and Noah Gragson in 14th. So a solid run for front row. That team has kind of had some growing pains with the new way that they're going about things, the new driver lineup, the new kind of status that they have with Ford and all of that, and some of the old stuff added in with that. So again, need to start getting some top 10s. But overall, not a bad day. Got some stage points, ran pretty well. You look at the second stage after, of course, the 5 and the 9. You have Blaney, Barry, Bell, Brad, Bowman, Hamlin, Smith, and Priest. A lot of the people you expect. I'll say this, because a lot of people are going to overlook him. He ended up falling back to 5th at the end. Alex Bowman, great run for him as well. I think I put in the chat with about 38-40 to go, that if it went green, the way that the 20 and the 5 fall off at the end of the runs, and if they are racing each other, I thought Bowman could have been the one winning that race. Alex Bowman, 5th place run, another solid run. for that 48 team. I believe he came in here, 12th on the grid, plus 56. I think at this point, he surely should be above Bubba Wallace after his problems today. A lot of points gained there, too. I mean, Alex Bowman, I think, has been put in a really great position. I believe he'd probably be 11th on the playoff grid. I'd have to think with all the, he had 4 stage points in the first stage, 5 in the second stage is 84, 5 in the first. So that's 9 points there. You add that to a 5th place finish. I would think he's got to be at least 70 or so points to the good. I don't see any way that he could. And yes, I probably jinxed him. I probably did jinx him. I'm pretty good at doing that. Let's see. He's 8th in regular season points. But when I talk about it, like I have the grid with the wins then points. If he's 8th on that, then I am amazed because I didn't think he could jump that far up. And yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. Bowman as a pick for the 600, not a bad pick, not a bad value. If you're a betting person, you can probably get some good money off of a win pick for Alex Bowman in the Coke 600. He's run well before. That very much could be something we see. Alex Bowman's always good for like one of those weird wins a year. And I really think that he's due for a multi-win season again. Maybe not 4 wins like he got in 2021. That was kind of crazy, but I could totally see him getting a 2-win season this year, which I don't think is bad at all in any way. But and I see like, all right, chat, keep that in mind for picks for NWP. Yeah, when it comes to NWP picks, am I second now? I might be second now. How about that? I picked the winner and I picked second, and had Larson actually had a flat tire, gotten really slow at the end. Maybe I could have snuck a sweep into this thing, but damn. So close. Looking at some of the other stuff, we had a bit of a crash fest at the start of the final stage as well. It started with Keselowski having that flat. And that's also with 73 to go where Chase Elliott lost control of the race, where Hamlin had his problems and went to the garage. At that point, the 9 was a no-show the rest of the day. Had horrible restarts. I don't know if it was picking the wrong line. I don't know what it was. But just a terrible sequence of events from 73 to go till roughly the restart with 55 to go. 18 laps, and that changed the course of his day insanely. You had another crash with 67 laps left where Ty Dillon got loose into Cody Ware, collected Daniel Suarez. The 24 of Byron. Fox didn't note this, but Byron also was caught up in that. So if there's any chance of him getting his lap back or getting, laps back on the lead lap, all that, the competitiveness of that 24, if there was any, was probably out of it at that point. 61 to go, another one where at this point Joey Logano came up. The restarts were those are the areas you were going to get Kyle Larson today. And Joey Logano almost did. Unfortunately, we go back to the scoring loop, go back to the scoring stuff of all of that. The 22 gave it the best shot, but at that point, Kyle Busch gets spun. He was inside of 4 wide. They kind of all come together, and Noah Gragson hits him. He slides down, doesn't hit anything, kind of gets stuck in the grass. Just he wasn't running great. He probably, like, the max that Kyle Busch could have got today was a 9th place finish. He was running, I think, like 14th at the time. Granted, when you're at the bottom of 4 wide, that 14th could easily turn to an 11th place by the next corner. I don't have any delusions of grandeur that the 8 car was going to carve up his way through the pack and get a top 5 or even a, not a low end top 10. But at that point, his competitive day was over. And we also had another crash where they're 4 wide. Heim bops the 7 into the 43, collects as well Austin Dillon and Bubba Wallace. That ends Bubba's day. I'm very interested. I don't know if they posted the points anywhere, but I'm very interested how close to the cut line at this point Bubba Wallace would be. Had a really great start to the season. It's been a bit inconsistent. Joins his buddy Ryan Blaney in the 4 DNFs range. When it comes to that, I believe he got his 4th DNF today. I'm wondering, like, if he's, because I think he came in here plus 78 on the cut line. Like, I don't care where they're at full season points right now, because let's be honest, the points in the order they're in doesn't matter. It's where do you rank after the 7 winners we've had. Larson jumping up with Christopher Bell in the 3-win club at this point. Because coming in today, 11th in the standings on the grid, Bubba Wallace was plus 78, well over a full race. I would have to think he'd probably be low 50s, high 40s, maybe in the 60s if everybody else kind of had a bad day, anything like that. 12th in the playoffs, probably. And then that's the thing. I never, my phone's at like 7%, and I want to download the NASCAR app. And yeah, I mean, Heim's another one. He had some mistakes today, but I think at this point, Heim needs to be in that 35 over Herbst. I know Herbst brings the money. I know Heim has had problems getting his way up there and all of that, but Corey Heim, he is too good to be in trucks right now. He should, like I said last night, Corey Heim at the minimum should be a top level JGR driving Toyota driver in Xfinity. Probably should get a chance at Cup. It should be over Herbst in the 35 easily. Easily should be there. Let's see. But yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, today was just a pretty straightforward race. There wasn't really anything about it that's going to set it apart. When you look at it compared to last year's spring race, you're going to probably be like, ugh, that was mediocre at best. Who cares? Kansas in general, we're gonna probably overhype it. We probably did. We probably overhyped it a little bit. But I don't think it was the worst race ever. Like I'd be in that 5 or 6 range, honestly. There were some very good aspects to it, though there are some clear problems with the car that aren't getting any better. And it'd be amazing if we could have tested 750 horsepower at a race that doesn't matter for points and no one really takes seriously and has been used as a glorified test session for years and years and years. Unfortunately, we just have the All-Star race this week. We'll get a promoter's caution. I guarantee you we will get that promoter's caution. I guarantee it. If we don't, man, I don't know. I'll maybe I'll eat crow on air. I don't think I could legally get a crow ordered here to eat. I don't know. There's laws with that. I will, symbolically eat crow. But yeah, all things considered, I think it's still better than the last 5 races or so, or 6. But definitely underwhelming compared to what we've gotten at Kansas. It is what it is, though. Not the crow. All right. Let's go on over and look at some of these super chats. I appreciate you guys coming on and being patient with me. Let's see. I want to make sure that I don't skip anyone because these things are very finicky. So Chris McIntyre for the 2 said Chris Wright Talent Memorial wrecked too soon. Yeah. So if you, let's see, I wonder if I have it on here still. Do I still have it? I do. So if you missed NWP this week, we had a lot of fun on Eric's channel. We're on my channel this week, so nowhere far to go. You just got to be here. But I had brought up something that was put on Google Maps that I found very funny. And it was put in turn 4 after what happened in the Xfinity race last week. It is the Chris Wright Talent Memorial out of turn 4. And the profile picture was added on later, and it was the Wright crash with Allgaier. It has been taken down, unfortunately. It's unfortunately been taken down. But it was a pretty funny meme as long as it was up. But you all knew it was going to be taken down. I think at one point they had one. Oh God, they had one for Quinn Houff at one point, and then somebody else. I don't know who did it. I just think it's really freaking funny. Let's see. Steven Gibson for the 5 says cookie cutters are now officially broken too with the next gen. Darlington, Homestead, and now Kansas all have been snoozers. Worried for the 600. That's the thing, is like you can see like, let's be honest, whether you were positive for the most part of the race or not, there's a clear direction the mile and a halfs are going right now as they figure this car out more, as they haven't changed anything to keep up with it. And it's concerning because the mile and a halfs, the intermediates, cookie cutters, whatever you want to call them, they have been, for the most part, they've been the staples on the schedule of the best races. And now if they're good or they're kind of all right or in the middle, like, then at that point you're kind of like, man, what do we got? I'm still gonna, knock on wood again. Knock on wood. I'm still gonna be a little bit confident still for the 600, just because it is the one race a year at the Oval there. Maybe it'll be cooler temps at night. I'm not sure. I don't know what the temperature was today exactly, Kansas, but it'll cool down at least as the night goes on. Seems to be pretty good with the next gen for the most part. I'm gonna at least stay a little positive with it, but it's kind of difficult to. I'm not gonna lie. Hunter Nixon Fishing with the 5 here says, happy as a Larson fan, but maybe the weakest Gen 7 of the Gen 7 races at Kansas. No, I will fully agree. I will say it was definitely the weakest race at Kansas when it comes to this car, far and away. And I agree with Blue Jimmy here. You got to evolve the car. You're going to have to change some stuff up. You got to keep up with the teams. These are some of the smartest people in the world. One way or another, they're going to figure it out on you. They're not here to race well. They're here to win. Let's see. Justin Drake says, thank God Hocevar's tire called it quits. I led fantasy all day till Hamlin nuked the transmission, then only got back out front when Hocevar came to pit with 3 to go. And second league owner in our group finished 6 of 6 today. Well, I guess there's at least the positive that, it happened when it did for you. So congrats. I have no idea how it went. I don't follow it during the day. I know you're supposed to have the garage driver you can put into the lineup, but I do so much stuff during the race, keeping track and taking notes and all that. I never keep track of my own fantasy team. It's probably why I suck so much. I'm also conserving different good drivers because I don't want to overuse them as the year goes on. That'll be my excuse for why I suck at it. How about that? Reverend Rasheem Hall Stewart says, do you prefer Kansas day or night race? Day, personally, but that's also because I'm not gonna lie, I know a lot of people love night races and they're great for a Saturday night short track and they're great for select races during the year, but I'm sorry, night races are so damn overrated. They look nice. They are better to attend in person, I'll tell you that. As long as you don't attend a night race in October or April when it's 30 degrees at Martinsville and the racing sucks. But I think night racing is so overrated. It looks cool. There is that. Greg Snazzy Gamer for the 10 says, Larson dominated and honestly he deserved it. Blaney top 5 was great. Yeah, I mean Larson fully deserved the win. There were those who definitely could go head to head with him, I think. But he was probably overall the best performance of the day. And like I said, I could probably think of a few that probably were better than him, but none of them proved it for very long, if ever, during the race. So there is that. Let's see. Captain Ford Guns with the 5 says, another week, another Brad K DNF. When does the season end? I got some bad news for you, including the All-Star race. We got 25 more weeks to go. So thank God Ryan and Chris got the finishes they deserved for a change. 6 never quits. 6 might not never quit, or 6 may never quit. But might be better off if they did. Let's see. Kurt for the 5 says, let's go number 5. Says, started to get a little ugly there with the cautions, but was competitive. It was a competitive day, and there were those that made their way up, especially as it got later in the run and tires made more of a factor. I'm wondering again, if you raise about 100 more horsepower like they're talking about doing, I wonder if that can be just enough to wear the tires earlier in runs so we can see that racing as it goes. Because I'll admit, through the first two stages, like, well, a lot of Kansas races, people have considered, and it's like Darlington as well, which is weird comparing those two. It's dull. But then they heat up as it goes. And so I was kind of wondering with that. I don't think we really got that though. It was competitive. And it was a little ugly with the caution. So I agree on a lot of it. Sly Supersonic with 542 says, after today's race, I don't ever want to hear anyone say the Gen 7 is better than the Gen 4, 5, or 6 ever again. They had their problems, but this is awful. I will say, I'm really hoping this isn't like the peak that we see this year, because if not, we're really hitting 2018, 2008 levels. I know a lot of people have nostalgia for both those years. I started on this site on 2018. It was a bad year. And this is the first year I have covered the sport since then where I've thought, oh my God, this year might be on par with it. I know the 550 sucked. Don't get me wrong. But I can't say this is worse than the 550. I cannot pull myself to that point. Because to be fair, it wasn't a horrible race. It just, we're losing the greatness factor, unfortunately. And hopefully maybe in the fall it gets better. Maybe we're just getting unlucky. It's rough, man. Andrew with the 2 says, I have no clue who the locale is. Chat should vote. I don't know, chat. Let them know. Who should the locale be? Let's see. Sea Border Coastline says this car needs ideal conditions to pass. Not good. No. There need to be some big swings in the off season, so that we don't lose the 1.5 miles as well, which is crazy to say. Because if I told you 5 years ago, man, we need to make sure 1.5 miles are good because those are what's keeping the racing afloat, you would have thought I was freaking nuts. I love this thing. I see why Michael has one and uses it so much. Let's see. Zaire for the 2 says, NASCAR fans when chaos, mad. NASCAR fans when calm, mad. I'd left the same one, I think, twice. Again, I don't think we should be taking aim at the fans for being upset this year. I'm going to be honest. I know a lot of people have been doing that. I saw a lot of y'all in the chat taking aim at fans for not liking the race. I don't blame people for being kind of at the end of their rope at this point. I mean, why wouldn't they be? Look at the racing we got for a month and a half before this. This is supposed to be the one that has basically just bangers every time. And it was decent. And it wasn't just because Larson dominated the whole thing. Again, I'm hoping maybe it'll be better in the fall, but like, I don't think we should be taking aim at the fans. I really, really don't. I don't understand. I really don't understand at this point. Like, I'd get if we had like really awesome races and they're just complaining to complain about, like, man, why did they throw the caution at this point when there was a piece of rubber on or whatever? Like, and we can talk about that, but I think we're gonna hit this kind of breaking point. These should be good races coming up. So I'm hoping there is. I don't want to take aim at the fans right now. I'd rather take aim at NASCAR for their car that barely works if it does. Let's see. Blast Beat the Fulf says Kansas should have a night race. To each their own. I don't even care. I don't even care, man. I think it races better in the day. But I've said my thoughts on it. Below the Apron for the 2 says Heim over Herbst. Agreed. The Sonic 24 says for the 5, don't know if I should be impressed or depressed that Chase is still 4th in points despite being horrifically mediocre. Always one thing or another. I'd say on this front with him being 4th in the points, being in good position, heading into a good part of the season that he needs to start heating up. There is a huge buffer. They have that buffer to test probably during the rest of the regular season. Of course, there'll probably be other winners. I'm assuming like SVG will probably win Chicago if nothing happens. There's always someone that wins a super speedway or something like that. But heading into this race today, Chase Elliott was 110 points over the cut line. He has plenty of room for error. And they have plenty of room to try and figure stuff out as it goes. If they can is the question. I'm not going to overreact too much. They're off. They're definitely off right now. But I also think it might be because the field right now has been a little weaker this year. And so by proxy, as long as you don't wreck out every week, you should be top 5 to 6 in points, give or take. Max with 5 says, let's go 5. Happy for Larson. Despite my favorite driver winning, it was a 7 out of 10 for me. Definitely one of the better races this season. I do think it was one of the better races this season. I do think it was, for what it's worth. SW with the 5 says, Bubba had the worst luck today. Got penalized, lapped down until he got in the lead lap, and then Heim caused a wreck, which Bubba got collected in. Yeah, just terrible luck for him. Those 2311 cars were definitely not where they were a year and a half ago. I think they also have a good amount of work to do. Let's see. Greg Snazzy Gamer with the 20 says, got to give love as well to SVG and Heim for top 20s, and Bowman top 5 as well. Yes, I did. I think I gave love to all of them. Heim did make that mistake that caused the issue, but we've seen a lot of guys do that, so I'm not going to, I'd somewhat say rookie mistake, but yeah, much love to all of them. I think good runs on all ends. Weiss Virginia says Bowman P5. I'll take it after what happened in Texas. Also, it's Heim time. Beat all his teammates and his team owner. Why isn't this guy in Cup? Money. That's probably why, is money. Greg Snazzy Gamer for the 5 says Elliott is the 4th Hendrick driver. I feel like that's war to some people, and to some people that are just resigning themselves to it. And then Greg Snazzy Gamer for the 50 says, want to say happy Mother's Day to everyone. Hopefully you all have a fantastic day. Yes, I hope that everyone celebrate Mother's Day today. Moms, grandmas, moms to be, all y'all. I have a very happy Mother's Day. And thank you for reminding me. It was your super chat that reminded me to say it, which probably is an indictment on me. But yes, 100,000% push the same message. Happy Mother's Day. Derek for the 2 says Fox broadcast made that finish a snooze fest. Yeah, they're not very good. There's not much more I can say, man. They're not very good. I'm so glad that we got one last race, and it's just the all-star race. Alexander with the 10 says, for all the people at the track, there's still an hour to play at the water park at Great Wolf Lodge behind the backstretch at Kansas to celebrate a Larson win. You left that at 5:55. That was 25 minutes ago. All right, y'all got like half an hour roughly to go over there if you're still at the track, or if you're sitting in traffic right now, because I know they're pretty good with the traffic flow there, but there still is a bit of traffic backup leaving. James with the 5 says, I remember all the people saying Priest didn't deserve the 3rd RFK car. He's proved the haters wrong. He will win one this year. Yeah, I will say I was somebody that definitely was a doubter, just because he never proven anything, never had the greatest equipment, but never really proven anything in the Cup side of things. But that 60 team they've been really on it so far. And I gotta say, he's done better than I thought he would. I didn't pick him to make the playoffs. I don't know if he's in the grid right now or not. But all things considered, pretty good. Pretty good so far. I see this chat in here. Crowd was surprisingly poor today. Spring race always is. You add in, you put it on Mother's Day, and you're not going to have a good race when it comes to attendance. I'll say this about the attendance side of things when it comes to Kansas. If the ratings aren't good and the attendance is down, don't be surprised if one of the Kansas dates gets taken off and they consolidate it to one after I think there's a contract that goes through like 27 with Hollywood Casino. I don't know if they've extended that or not. But I remember it went through like 2027. Don't be surprised if like in the next couple of years, you see it go down to one date, consolidate that one date, get a better crowd, get a better atmosphere, all of that with it, and bring it to another track, kind of extend that out more and have more tracks on the schedule. I wouldn't be surprised. I thought that obviously last year you had the rain delay, so that was going to kind of bring it down. But I thought the year before that, and when I was there, I believe in 23, when I saw, that's right, I was 23, I believe it was the week before I got to be on a car. And that Sunday, I got to see the awesome finish from Denny Hamlin's. I was standing behind Denny Hamlin's pit box while him and Larson went at it. And then I was on pit road recording some interviews. And that's when I didn't catch it on camera. But you can see me on the broadcast afterwards, the Gregson Ross Chastain fight I was there for. So that was pretty fun. But yeah, long-winded way of saying Kansas's spring date has never really had the greatest attendance, and I don't think it's going to improve all that much, especially being on Mother's Day. Being a race being on Mother's Day will always have that lower attendance. Like Father's Day will always probably have a higher attendance, just because the fan base, the way it is, and it's I would assume there's a lot more dads out there that are probably chomping at the bit to go to a race with their kid or their grandkids, grandpas and all that on a Father's Day than there would be maybe moms on a Mother's Day. If you just look at the way the fan base generally is. Hey, I'm just saying this, man. If we got to take a Kansas date off, I'm totally cool giving it to Chicagoland. Same kind of racing, except way more worn out. Just saying, just saying. As I have my Chicagoland Speedway gas can. Let's see what else we got here. Marky Mark. Kellogg's, go back to the timing Fruit Loops. the scoring Fruit Loops. Alexander with the 10 says, and Kyle Larson is sweeping the double in 2 weeks, and all the Penske personality fans will have to sit there and like it. I don't know if you will. I don't know if he's going to be sweeping it, but I would not be surprised if Kyle Larson got a top 5. I believe, is it the best finishes any drivers had in the double? Been 6th for Kurt Busch at Indy, and then was it 4th or 3rd or something for Tony Stewart in the 600? Or like, you guys would have, you guys would have to tell me for sure what it was. But I'm pretty sure that's it. Those would be, I feel like that'd be the 5th and 3rd. Okay, 5th and 3rd is what Larson has to beat. If he got the sweep, I'm telling you now, like, you're never going to hear the end of it. That is going to be the biggest storyline of the decade, and rightfully so. But for anyone who's like, I'm so sick of Larson, if he does anything close to sweeping it, man, it's going to be bad times for you. Let's see. Keenan for the 2 says, as an Elliott fan, nothing but pain lately. I mean, I was a Dale Jr. fan in 2009 and 2010. That was, I feel like that was real pain. That just sucked. Like, at least you guys have had some competitiveness today. There's a competitive spirit that was still alive in the 9 team today. Cameron with the 5 says, IndyCar is having the same problem as NASCAR, running the same car for an extended period of time. Add 750 everywhere, not just short tracks. Agreed. Add the horsepower everywhere. We're already seeing diminishing returns on the tracks that should be good. Let's up the horsepower, and maybe we can see some change. Oops, 6th and 3rd. Okay, so I was right about the 6th part. All right. Let's see. Wizard King Nick with a 10-month member chat. As both a KB and Toyota fan, today was mostly pain. Yeah, but I mean, at least maybe you got a little hope at the last lap when they kept saying that he had run out of gas or had a flat or whatever the hell they were saying. Seaborder Coastline with the 5 says, hot take, Kyle Larson wasn't even that good. He died the one time he got in traffic. He nor the car were dominant. Clean air and the first pit box were. I don't even think that's a hot take too much, because like I said, I think there were cars that were better than his today. We just never got to see them prove it up there. I thought Brad Keselowski had a better car today. I thought that Chase Elliott, when he got up front, had a better car. I get that's probably a hot take after the result. I still think he was one of the better cars out there. I think he was one of the top 5 best ones. But I don't think it's actually too much of a hot take. I think it's actually kind of correct. Andrew Winslow with the 2 says the low cow is Herbst. So slow. Yeah, you're pretty damn slow. Let's see. Nap Racing Fan left 2 here. Says great call by McMurray for the Kyle Busch win. And then said Elliott's pit crew were not in their prime today. Oh, that's bad. That's so bad. Oh, man. All right. I think that's going to do it. We will be live this Wednesday on my channel. Yes, it is my channel. Yes, it is my channel. Yeah. We will be live on my channel this Wednesday for NWP at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Going to be a lot of fun. So be sure to be there for that. Subscribe. We do this after every race. Good, bad, in between. You name it. Trucks, Xfinity Cup. We do it after every single one of them, whether it's on Fox, Prime, FS1, TNT, USA, or NBC, or CW. We will be here after the race. Thank you guys all so much for hanging out. Go enjoy the rest of Mother's Day with your moms. One last super chat from West Virginia saying, speaking of Indy, can we get Palou for a cup race at the Glen this year? I'd be cool with it. Just saying, Project 91 needs another driver soon. But thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. Enjoy the rest of Mother's Day with your moms, or if your moms are watching, with your kids. And I will see you this week. Later, y'all. Bye.